Hi, this is Bhavna and you're watching India Today. Today I'm joined by the gorgeous Shruti Haasan right here, who is coming up with her third single, Monster Machine, which I have had the opportunity to watch and absolutely loved it, Shruti.
Thank you
What
so
a
much.
beautiful song. It really, and you are currently embodying that entire theme and persona, like according to me. This is how you describe the song as well. Bold, beautiful, and really on point. But I want to know from you, what does it take for a Shruti Haasan to be able to do a song like this? Because I know it's not easy because the theme is bold one. It really explores female sexuality, desires in a very different way. We don't see many Indian actresses do that. What does it take to be able to pull this off?
Well, thank you, first of all, for all of your wonderful compliments. I feel like for me, it was just something that I had, like as a feeling inside. I was trying to describe it in a song, in a poem. I was trying to find it, and then I kind of just, it kind of just came together. And that's fine. The only way this happens is when a lot of people get together to help you do it. So this was produced by mine and Shantanu Hazarika's production company, Black. Our director is Dwarakesh, who's like such an integral part of making sure the vision is translatable and, the concept really reaches across. The DOP, the director of photography for this video is Bhuvan Gaura, who's also shot Salal. So we kind of built a relationship through working on that film, as well as the stylist Nainika, who created the looks that everyone loves. So it's such a collaborative effort. So, I mean, I had an idea and an intention, but none of this is possible without
all of the support.
Really. And it's like it was beyond like making a movie or something, because we do that a lot. But this was like, I was so passionate about it and I really wanted it to be a certain way, and they've been beyond amazing.
They took your vision and really translated it into what you had envisioned it to be. But also the vision, this entire idea, when did it come to you? Because when I was listening to the song, the two things that really struck a chord with me was one of the lines says twisted beauty, and there's no better way to describe a woman in today's time to be. I mean, we are all twisted in our own ways, but that doesn't take away from what we are as women.
In fact, for me, I'm more interested in people's monsters, not the facade we have to present to the world. The monsters inside of us, that's where the courage comes from. That's where willpower comes from. That's where a lot of the good stuff comes from. For me, creating this was just really about, it's a love song to myself. And then in turn, looking for this kind of monster to fall in love with. Yeah.
But tell me, when did you realize? Because also, like you said, that, it is us exploring the monster in us, because that is where you actually derive all your energy, courage, determination, and willpower from. But again, for most women, that's not easy to find that monster or to identify or to realize that there is one, because बचपन से ही बोला है ना कि मतलब लड़कियां तो इस तरीके की ही होनी चाहिए.
And I think लड़कों को भी बोला जाता है कि लड़कों को ऐसे होना चाहिए. Across the board, it's unhealthy and toxic, like really toxic for everyone.
But when did you realize that, okay, this is what I truly desire and there's no harm in saying it out loud?
I think I've known it always. But you take time to grow into yourself. I really want to tell people that this thing of timelines, like by this time you should do this, by this time you should have achieved that, by this time you should have figured this out. Like, it's just, it doesn't make sense, and I've had the opportunity to have an incredible career where I've had different experiences, but I didn't pay attention to, and I did not give credence to the fact that I should develop this voice of mine, in terms of what I want to say and how I feel, and that it's okay, because I'm not here to offend people. I'm here to live my life on my terms. That's it. Yeah.
But where do you find that courage, Shruti? Because again, I mean, in this industry especially, it becomes a lot more difficult to find that voice when everyone around you is perhaps telling you that, you know what, you have had a successful career. Why do you want to try this? And maybe you'll fail. And
I don't think anyone said, why do you want to try music? Everyone's always been telling me, sing more, sing more, sing more. But maybe in the way that they want it. Yeah. But I have to say, the encouragement I've got for my music, there's like a whole bunch of people saying, why aren't you doing more of this? Why did you do that movie? Yeah. So I feel I've been very blessed in that sense.
Can we also talk about the music video? There are instances where I'm just amazed by the visuals of it and the kind of story or the narrative that it wants to portray. I want to know, as Shruti, an independent musician as well, how much time do you spend working on all of these aspects with everyone you're collaborating with? But how much of your input is there in everything that is being made?
I mean, I'm a notorious control freak, but like, for me, the whole thing started at this piano, which is over here. Like, this is my space where I actually write. This is a lot of what I read. This is the world I live in my head. So it started there, and then I took it to two music producers, Karan Kanchan and then Karan Parekh, who works with me across the board on a lot of my music for years now, and my first two singles as well. So that's really where it starts. I wanted the lyrics to be as open as possible, where it's not about woman alone. It's not about me alone. It's about everyone feeling passionately sure of what their darkness is, as well as I really use this word a lot, which women aren't particularly allowed to have, is emotional violence. It is to bring those things out in a way that is glorifying to the emotion, which then therefore is dark and divine. Yeah.
Have you ever heard people, because English, I remember speaking to Arman Malik some time back, where he said that whenever you try as a musician himself, whenever he tried to do something in a different language, people would always question or tell that, maybe you'll not be able to do this, or they'll be saying, oh, you're trying to copy a certain international star. There's always these kind of comments that sometimes follow, especially when...
The good thing is people can't decide who I'm like, so that's fun. I'll tell you one thing is, I always speak about this. I grew up speaking Tamil and Hindi at home. My mom taught me Hindi, my dad taught me Tamil. But and now I work in Telugu. I've sung in multiple languages. I've sung in Kannada, I've sung in Marathi, I've sung, and but my language of expression is English. Whether we like it or not, English medium schools produce students and then women like me. That's all it is, really. And hum kisi ka nakal nahi kar rahe. This is what we grew up listening to. This is what I grew up listening to. I grew up listening to Tori Amos and Nirvana and Nine Inch Nails. I also heard Ilaiyaraaja sir, A.R. Rahman, all of them, sure. But this was my predominant. I still listen to heavy metal every morning. So why will I pretend to be Desi where it doesn't belong? Do you know what I mean? So acting is separate. Singing playback is separate. But if Shruti is writing about her experience as Shruti, it is going to have...
I don't know if it makes sense, but it's like the thinking language, because we have all...
My thinking language is English, but gaaliyan Hindi or Tamil mein aati hai. I mean, it's just more effective.
I agree. It's exactly the same, I'm assuming, Also, I was reading, and you have actually never shied away from talking about this, that when you started in the industry as well, for most period, people used to, they try to box you in a way where they would say, oh, you look a certain way, you don't look Indian, or you don't come across as like, has that changed over the years? और अब जब आप गा रहे हो तो लोग बोल रहे हैं कि वही चीजों को जब आपने embrace कर लिया है, and you are what you are, then they are saying, oh, please do something which is more Indian. How do you look at this?
Yeah, I mean, there are people who really encourage this side of me, and to them I'm like super thankful, because not just me, independent music, we need as much love as we can get, because it's just, there's so much talent and there's so many incredible musicians in India, whether they're singing in English or not, and it needs a platform as big as playback and as big as films, because we need different kinds of stories. वही कहानी सुन के हम सब हाँ में हाँ मिला के कितना दूर जाएंगे, like that's what I feel. तो beyond a point, I don't listen, honestly. This makes me happy and I do it, and I'm very thankful for the love that I do get.
And you have been doing amazingly well, might I just add that, But again, like, has those kinds of comments stopped coming now, Shruti? Because you've actually delivered and your work has spoken enough. But there's always a stigma or a taboo which is still attached, or comments still.
Listen, this is my job. I work really hard at it. Fortunate enough to get paid for it. And I'm just living my life. It's that simple. As for the rest of it, to grow and to take constructive criticisms from fellow creatives is of importance to me. To receive love with grace and humility is important for me. The rest of it can just fly its own kite, honestly. Yeah.
But where did this reassurance sort of come from? Because you need to be really secure and assured in your talent, in the way you are within the industry. Because I know I've spoken to so many people who would at least try to change a bit about them.
I did change, and I think, I mean, I don't call it courage or strength or whatever. Like, this is who I am now because I don't have any other option. But it comes from reaching an internal breaking point, which I did reach, and I've spoken about it honestly, where nothing around me was aligning to me because I wasn't aligned with myself. So I took that time to completely rip and break myself down, and that's really where I met my monster. And I always say, like, instead of avoiding it or putting the monster back in the box, I let it come out and play. Yeah.
And every time anyone tries to box Shruti in today's time, what do you have to tell them?
Boxes are strange things for those who make them, for those who pass them on, and for those who willingly get into them. We all have different boxes. And there are days we are in a box, and that's okay, because it could be your societal need, it could be, but it never feels great.
True, never.
But I also feel if you spend all your energy breaking the mold and ripping the box open, that's also a bit like try hard. Do you know what I mean? So I think to be aware that there are boxes, but they may not necessarily be something you need to accept. There are shelves you don't need to be placed on. So I think it's more about an ease about these things. Because if the people pushing their opinions on you are that hard, and then you're pushing back hard, then there's no ease to discovering yourself as a woman, as a man, as an artist, as a teenager, whatever. There has to be just being. Like, we've all forgotten a little bit to do that.
Do you think the musician, the artist in you in that sense kind of helps you have that sanity and that balance? Because if it's not, I mean, acting, yes, but if you're going through maybe a turbulent period in that sense, it's the other things sort of makes you.
The mediums are really different. There are things in acting that I receive as a human being and an artist that are like so meaningful and valuable, and uski na bahut, how do you say, like, it has a deep impact across me. But when it comes to music, it's so, a movie is made with many people. It's somebody else's story. It's someone else's words. No one can make a movie entirely on their own. I feel they can, but like not really.
Yeah, true.
But I can make a song entirely on my own on the piano. And there's something really powerful about that.
True.
Creating my own corner and resonating on like a feedback loop of self-affirmation.
True.
Yeah.
And you've done that, right? Like, but tell me, when did that shift happen for you, Shruti? Because when you start, everyone wants to just gear and just do everything.
I think after I turned 30.
30 is the key then.
I think so. And then, like, now I'm in my mid-30s and I just feel like something happened. Like, I was just relaxed. Like, and also just people started like saying, abhi time ho gaya na, aapko nikalna hai na. Abhi ho gaya na, acha, nahi kaun hai. You know, I was feeling so much of those pressures, which were like nonsense, really. When you're getting married, and I was like, okay, no, none of this is my problem. None of this is me. And I just started to enjoy.
Because I remember I was just watching Karina's interview recently where she spoke about how she was so fierce before she turned 30, because, and also sometimes you delve into the usual pehle bolte the cat fights and other things, right? Because people came.
I've never been in cat fights. No, because when a woman lets me down, she's letting herself down and the sisterhood down is what I always say.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
But you know, what she actually meant was it is only after her 30s when she sort of relaxed, because you look at things a different way, and that is exactly how I resonate.
Yeah, I think so. I think we're just like, okay.
You stop worrying about
Yeah.
things which mattered before that.
Because I think the things that matter start to change. Yeah, yeah. And it doesn't mean being a wife or being a mum. A woman like me, that's not my priority right now. It is going to the next step of my professional life. It is being a better woman and person to the people in my life. And it's creating art that I enjoy. And then the rest, I guess.
But is this, I mean, the self-assurance, is that also the reason why you have been able to pick the kind of films you want to be part of without really taking a lot of burden on your shoulders?
I've always been a bit strange. Like, I've always just kind of
Been a machine monster.
monster machine, and that's no. Now it's a little bit is more systematic choices. I've been a bit weird. That's all. Because people will be like, "Nahi, ye karna hi chahiye," and I'd be like, "No," and then they would be like, "Why is she doing that film?"
Yeah.
Like it baffles. I've just kind of gone with the flow.
Yeah. But have you ever heard when you are someone who has a mind of your own and a voice of your own? Not many people, especially in a predominantly male dominated industry, don't take it well. But also, I mean, have you had, despite being the fact that you are Kamal Hassan's daughter, despite that, were there moments where people...
No. Because of that also is another chapter. You know, but मैं एक बात बोलूं, like in the beginning they used to say arrogant hai. And you know, I was going through my own insecurities and fears. So as women, we put up fronts that are so like impenetrable. I take the time now to try and see into people and to look into them and see what's underneath that, what's behind that. That's something I owe to people around me for what I went through. The other thing is, it was always, she's arrogant. I was never arrogant. Like, God, you know, is my witness, hand on my heart. If a guy did the same thing, it would have maybe been taken differently, you know. Yeah. I don't know. I've now realized that there are a lot of microaggressions. So मेरे अंदर की feminist, like, you know, वो जाग जाती है. But I also don't go around burning the bra, so to speak. It's a balance. It's about me feeling happy. I'm not a man hater. I think one of the biggest problems in society today is men's mental health and no one addressing that and the pressures they feel. So I just want all of us to have a communication across the board.
It's not a fight against each other. It's fight for going together, like, you know, because it's coexisting, right?
People, we need to like understand each other more.
Yeah, because I keep hearing this most of the times. There's this different way of people. I mean, if you call yourself a feminist, it's also to do a lot with the way society looks at it. Most of the time it's like, oh, then you must hate men. No. Why would I hate men? I'm a feminist, which means I'm looking forward to an equal world eventually, and that's about it. Absolutely. But I get what you're saying. I mean, that's why Monster Machine to me made a lot of sense, also because you're trying to show different facades of women, at the same time talking about things which we don't talk about.
So there's been different witches through time, but the burning of the witch at the stake never ends. True. And मैं एक बात कहना चाहूंगी कि अभी भी जो चीजें जा रही हैं on social media, 10 years from now, we're going to look at it and people are going to be very embarrassed. Like, now they look back at stories of 90s mein, what questions they asked heroines, what they asked pop stars in the US. Like, are you a virgin? Do you know what I mean? And that time, these women had to answer these questions. And now we're like cringing and we're like, that's disgusting. There's a lot of that currently happening on social media, on the questions we're asked, on the things. And I know in 10 years, people are going to be like, that was gross. बहुत ही खराब था वो question. और अभी चल रहा है वो.
No, I completely agree with you, because I feel that good sense will prevail eventually, and that's when they'll look back and they'll be like, did we really like? Were they really asked these questions? Because I know when I watch some interviews from the 90s or like early 2000s, I'm just like, did they really ask this? Like, oh my God.
So I do feel that those things are changing, and social media gives opportunity and platform to a lot of incredible things, but to a lot of people who are like really not happy with themselves either. So it's interesting for me to represent dark sexuality, because we're sexualized so much in a way that we don't agree to. So I wanted to take charge of the dark sexuality.
Done it incredibly well. About your music, about you being a musician, you're trying to learn different things all the time, and there's just so much in music that is still untapped and you would want to. But if I may ask, what's the next thing or a next instrument that you perhaps...
I'm not a great instrumentalist. I play the piano. I'm trained in tabla because of Hindustani.
Very good, you know, because I know it takes a lot of...
I've never been able to play the guitar. I've had so many people try to teach me, so I just stick to the piano. For me, increasing musicality is in terms of improving my songwriting always. And by improving, I don't mean theoretically, I mean writing from a more resonant, honest and fluid space. Using my voice differently, always practicing. I really believe in like riyaz, whether you're...
And that's the hallmark of a good musician.
I mean, we just need, it's all those hours of practice. It just never stops for me.
And I'm really looking forward to seeing you do more in music and film stuff, of course. So since we are...
And collaborating with other musicians.
I was going to ask, but I thought that maybe, I don't know, is it too soon to ask? Is there a bucket list that you have? Because in today's time especially, it's no more a dream.
No. I mean, for me, it's not like a bucket list, but sometimes I'll see someone maybe on Instagram and I just reach out and I'm like, I love what you're doing. It may or may not turn into a collaboration, but I think it starts with appreciation. I think that sometimes people are like, we think you should collaborate with this person. I'm like, no, because there isn't enough mutual respect. Do you know what I mean? Because I feel like even if you're jumping across genres and stuff, that's amazing actually. But you need to have that mutual respect for what they're creating and them for what you're creating, you know? And then it comes together. So there's some people, but I'm like I love collaborating with other musicians. It's probably one of my favorite things to do.
So if I may ask at this point, who is the top of someone's music that you really appreciate at this point and you would love to collaborate with?
Oh my God, there's so many. It's not fair to say just one.
Maybe at the top of your head. We can always have favorite. Like for example, right now at the top of my mind, because I just heard your song, it's Monster Machine. Like I would love to see you collaborate with other people, like in that sense.
There's too many people. Honestly, there's too many. And I'm not trying to be diplomatic. I just don't want to like mess up and like say one person and they...
But you know, I'm so sorry. I'll just take the last two questions. The one interesting thing you said is that you reach out to people when you feel like, okay, I love... is that difficult sometimes? Because, you know, a lot of people...
No. I'm really active on social media, and it's not just other musicians. Like there's a lot of really funny content creators and I love following them and I love interacting with them because it's just, that's the amazing thing. Yahi achhi baat hai iske, like with all the burai and the tum chudel number one ho and all that, which is like, thank you for calling me that, by the way. But it's really nice to see the stuff people are creating, like the things people are creating through comedy, through art, through fashion, through cooking. It's so good. So I love reaching out and being like, yo, that was good. That was really good.
And I absolutely love seeing you experimenting. Salal, of course, is one of the biggest release coming up by the end of this year, and we will see you in that film. Tell me your experience, perhaps, because it's been delayed a bit. Were you a bit disappointed about it? Because we have spoken a lot. I don't know if you recollect, we have spoken a lot for Telephonics. And every time, of course, we have asked you about Salal and you'll be like, you know, this is a great film. I'm really excited.
I am still really excited. It is a great film. I can't wait for everyone to watch it. It's a really large scale project. And there are a number of permutations, combinations, variables, so many things that come into play that people don't see. And that's really for the director, producer, all of them to like figure out. So I'm on the same page as them, and I'm like really happy that is finally coming out. I can't wait for people to see it. And I've had like the best experience on this film, personally as well as professionally. I've had a lovely time. And personally, I have to say, Monster Machine was shot by Bhuvan Gowda, who shot Salal. The art director, Chalapati Garu, is also part of Monster Machine. And as well as Prashant was kind enough to say, you can use one part of our set that's not in the movie. So when my director Dwarakesh and I sat down with Shantanu, who's my producing partner, to put this all together, we were just like, wow, they're so generous. Yeah, it's not falling in place as much as their generosity. And I'm really happy. I'll tell you why, because my taste and aesthetic and like what I've watched, I've loved like the Zion scene in Matrix and like Mad Max, and like I love Donnie Darko. So I love that whole space of the gritty visual. So honestly, I would have not picked any other DOP other than Bhuvan sir anyway, because that is my aesthetic. So it was really amazing.
Lovely. On that note, thank you so much.
Thank you.